Hello TikTok. Today we will be reading the first chapter of a book called Orbital by a Samantha Harvey. I'm going to be filming me reading all of this as like a little series to not only just, try and grow the account obviously, but to develop my reading skills and, just read more because I've only really read, I think it was one book this year so far, which was me rereading Animal Farm by George Orwell because I was kind of forgetting stuff in that book. But yeah, we're gonna be. I'm really sorry if I struggle to read this. I'm just a bit slow to be honest, but I'm gonna use my magnet pop socket to guide my eyes to read. But yeah, gonna be reading this little mini series like I said, just to have some fun. There's a good few chapters in here, at least 16 chapters, or about 16. But yeah, let's start. Orbit 1. Ascending. Roman wakes early. He sloughs off his sleeping bag and swims in the dark to the lab window. Where are we? Where are we? Where on Earth? It's night and there's land. Into view edges a giant city nebula among reddish rust. Nothing. No, two cities, Johannesburg and Pretoria, locked together like a binary star just beyond the hoop of the atmosphere and the sun. In the next minute, it will go clear the horizon and flood the earth, and dawn will come and go in a matter of seconds before daylight is everywhere at once. Central and East Africa suddenly bright and hot. Today is his 430th day in space. A tally arrived at over 3 different missions. He keeps close count of this mission. It's day 88. In a single 9-month mission, there are in total roughly 540 hours of morning exercise, 500 morning and afternoon meetings with the American, European, and Russian crews on the ground, 4,320 sunrises, 4,320 sunsets, almost 108 million miles traveled, 36 Tuesdays for all that, this being one, 540 times having to swallow toothpaste, 36 changes of t-shirt, and 135 changes of underwear. A fresh set of underwear every day is a storage luxury that can't be afforded. 54 clean pairs of socks. Auroras, hurricanes, storms, their numbers unknown, but their occurrence certain. 9 full cycles, of course, of the moon, their silver companion, moving placidly through its phases while the days go away. But all the same, the moon seen several times a day, and sometimes in strange distortion. To his tally kept on a piece of paper in his crew quarters, Roman will add the 89 line, not to wish the time away, but to try and tether it to something countable. Otherwise, center drifts. Space shreds time to pieces. They were told this in training. Keep a tally of each day when you wake. Tell yourself this is the morning of a new day. Be clear with yourself on this matter. This is the morning of a new day. And so it is. But in this new day, they'll circle the earth 16 times. They'll see 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets, 16 days and 16 nights. Roman clasps the handrail by the window to steady himself. The southern hemisphere stars are fleeting away. You're bound to coordinated universal time. Ground crews tell them. Be clear with yourself on this matter. Always clear. Look often at your watch to anchor your mind. Tell yourself when you wake up, this is the morning of a new day. And so it is, but it's the day of but it's a day of 5 continents and of autumn and spring, glaciers and deserts, wilderness and horizons, in their rotations around the earth, in accumulations of light and dark, in baffling arithmetic of thrust and attitude, and speed and sensors. The whip crack of morning arrives every 90 minutes. They like these days when the brief bloom of daybreak outside of coincides with their own. In the last minute of darkness, the moon is near full and low to the glow of the atmosphere. Night has no idea it's about to be obliterated by day. Roman has a sense of himself a few months hence, staring from his bedroom window at home, moving aside his wife's array of dried and to him unnameable flowers, forcing open the condensated and stiff casement, leaning into the Moscow air, seeing it the same room like a souvenir he's brought back, from a holiday somewhere exotic, but it's just for a moment, and then the sight of this moon from the space station, laying squashed and low beyond the atmosphere, not really above them but across, like an equal, is everything that brief comprehension, I'm really sorry, he had of his bedroom, his home, is gone. There was a lesson at school about painting Las Minas when Sean was 15. It was about how painting disorientated its viewer and left them not knowing what it was they were looking at. It's a painting inside a painting, his teacher had said. Look closely. Look here. Velázquez, the artist, is in the painting at his easel, painting a painting, and what he's painting is a king and a queen, but they are outside of the painting, where we are, looking in. And the only way they know they're there is because we can see their reflection in a mirror directly in front of us. What the king and queen are looking at is what we are looking at, their daughter and her ladies in waiting, which is what the painting is called. Las Meninas, the ladies in waiting. So what's the real subject of the painting? The king and the queen who are being painted and whose reflected faces, though small, are in the center background. Their daughter, who's a star in the middle, so bright and blonde in the gloom, her ladies and dwarves and chaperones and dog in waiting. The furtive man mid-stride in the doorway in the background who seems to be bringing a message. Velázquez, the background, who seems to be bringing a message. I read that wrong. I read the wrong line. Velázquez, whose presence as the painter is declared by fact of him being in the painting at his easel, painting what is a picture of the king and queen, who might be Las Meninas himself, or is it us who are looking in, who are being looked at by both Velázquez and the infant princess in reflection by the king and queen, or is it the subject art itself, which is a set of illusions and tricks and artifacts within life, or life itself, which is a set of illusions and tricks within a consciousness that is trying to understand life through perceptions of dream and art? Or, the teacher said, is it just a painting about nothing, just a room with some people in it and a mirror? This is so horror, oh my god. I'm so sorry. To Sean, who at 15 did not want to take art classes and already knew he wanted to be a fighter pilot, this lesson was the heightened depth of it, of all futility. He didn't like the painting particularly, and he didn't care what it was of. Probably, yes, it was just a room with some people in it and a mirror, but he didn't even care enough to put his hand up and say that. He was drawing geometric doodles on his notepad. Then he drew a picture of somebody being hanged. Fun. The girl sitting next to him saw the doodles and nudged at him and raised her brow and smiled. A small, fugitive smile. And when she became his wife many years later, she gave him a postcard of Las Meninas, it being to her an emblem of their first real exchange. And when, years after that, he was away in Russia, preparing to go to space, she wrote in a cramped hand on the back of a postcard a precis of everything their teacher had said, which he'd entirely forgotten, but which she'd remembered, with lucidity that didn't surprise him, because she was the sharpest and most lucid human he'd met. Aw, already at 10 minutes. You guys better be enjoying this. He has that postcard in his crew quarters. This morning when he wakes, he finds himself staring at it, at all the possibilities of subject and perspective that his wife wrote out on its reverse: the king, the queen, the mate, the girl, the mirror, the artist. He stares for longer than he's aware. Then there's the lingering sense of an unfinished dream. Something wild in his thoughts when he climbs out of his sleeping bag and puts on his running gear and goes to the galley for coffee. He catches sight of a distinctive northerly point of Oman, jutting into the Persian Gulf. Dust clouds over the Navy Arabian Sea, the great Indus estuary, what he knows to be a Karachi, invisible now in daylight, but by night a great complex, cross-hatched grid that reminds him of the doodles he used to do, according to the arbitrary metric of time they used up here, where time is blasted at 6 a.m, the others rising. They look down to understand why it's called Mother Earth. They all feel it from time to time. They all make an association between the earth and their mother, and this turn makes them feel like children in their clean-shaven, androgynous bobbing, their regulation shorts and spoonable food, the juice drunk through straws, the birthday bunting, the early nights, the enforced innocence of dutiful days. They all have moments up here of a sudden obliteration of their astronaut selves and a powerful sense of childhood and smallness, their towering parent ever present through the dome of glass. But now, more so, since Chai came to the galley on Friday evening, where they were making dinner, her face colourless with shock, and said, "My mother has died," and Sean let go of his packet of noodles so that it floated above the table. They have zero gravity in there. And Petro swam the 3 feet towards her, bowed his head, and took both of her hands with a choreography so seamless you'd have thought it was prepared. Alright, bro. Oh, no, I've lost it. As I would have thought it was prepared. Okay, and Nell muttered something indecipherable, sorry. A question, what, how, when, what? And when Chai's pale face flushed crimson suddenly, as if the speaking of those who had given her heat to her grief, sorry. Since that news, they find themselves looking down at Earth as they circle their way around it, meanderingly. It seems though that couldn't be less true. And there's that word, mother, 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 mother. Chai's only mother is now that rolling, glowing ball that throws itself involuntarily around the sun once a year. Chai had been made an orphan, her father dead a decade. That ball is the only thing she can point to now that has given her life. There's no life without it. Without that planet, there's no life. Obvious. Think a new thought, they sometimes tell themselves. The thoughts you have in orbit are so grandiose and old. Think a new one, completely fresh, unthought one. But there are no new thoughts, just old thoughts born into new moments. These moments are the thought. Without that earth we are all finished. We couldn't survive a second without its grace. We are sailors on a ship, on a deep, dark, unswimmable sea. None of them knows what to say to Chai, what consolation you can offer to someone who suffers the shock and bereavement while in orbit. You must surely want to get home and say some sort of goodbye. No need to speak, you only have to look out through the window at a radiance doubling and redoubling the earth from there. Oh god. From here is like heaven. It flows with colour, and it's spelled right. a burst of hopeful colour. When we're on that planet, we look up and think heaven is elsewhere. But here is what the astronauts and cosmonauts sometimes think. Maybe all of us are born to have it already died and are in an afterlife. If we must go to an improbable, hard-to-believe place when we die, that glassy distant orb with its beautiful, lonely light shows could well be it. So that's chapter 1. I didn't think I'd struggle with that as much as I did. That was 3 pages and that took 15 minutes. By I'm reading aloud. Yeah, I like it so far. Let me know what you guys think. I'm probably gonna put this on my YouTube as well. Just because. But yeah, thank you. Let me know what you guys think. Bye.